Welcome back to Run Through TV. It is Ben Shepherd here. Okay, today's guest, somebody that's built quite the following across social media, but the reason behind that is what he does. He is a coach with an amazing running story himself, taking his marathon from 3:17 down to 2:20. Who am I talking about? Nick BESTER is his name, and he joins us here on Run Through TV.
So I'm Nick BESTER, also known on Instagram. My handle is just a little BESTER. I'm a 2:20 marathoner, 2:20:08 marathoner, trying to break 2:20 in the marathon distance. And I'm also, I would say online coach, but I do a lot of in-person coaching as well. So call it just a running coach in general. Went full-time into running coaching about 2 years ago now, just over 2 years ago. And yeah, I haven't looked back once since. Started an athletics club called Best Athletics. It's exponentially growing, which is awesome to see, and such a good vibe, supportive group of people. So just proud to be a part of it. And yeah, I'm on a mission to try and get as quick as possible and help as many as I can get there. So it pretty much sums up my life over the last 2.5 years.
Big question then, straight off the bat. Why running?
So why running? Probably because the parents-in-law were runners and I wanted to impress them. Started with that, and that's not even me joking. And I've just been trying to get faster ever since. So yeah, I've always had a sporty background, been quite competitive, and I guess running it's been for the last 9 years now.
And it must feel quite special as well. Obviously, you mentioned the coaching side of things. Couple of questions on this, really. That decision to go full on into coaching full time and then kind of removing the safety blanket of everything else, was that a nerve-wracking one?
Completely. It was stressful, nerve-wracking. I always say I used to sleep nicely at night. And even now, I don't really, my mind's always active, always busy, because ultimately, whatever you put in, you get out. And, when in my corporate days, it's not like I hated it. I quite enjoyed it, but I was never truly passionate about it. But at the end of the day, my salary was my salary. My bonus was my bonus. And that completely changed when I went full time into coaching. So yeah, it was a bit of a, call it, shock to the system for the first few months, and still catches me by surprise every now and then. Your mind just constantly goes and thinking of ideas and doesn't ever switch off. But at the same time, I'm doing what I love now, what I'm passionate about, and probably what I'm better at. So I can't complain.
And what's it like seeing those people that you coach achieve amazing things? Because that's gotta in some ways almost feel better than running PBs your end.
100%. So yeah, it's incredible. It's almost like, if I had to describe it, it's like having kids that do really well in school or something, and you're just so super proud of them. It's like that sort of feeling, because yeah, when you work with an athlete and you see them achieve a PB that means so much to them, it's just rewarding and so awesome. And ultimately it's the runner and the athlete that puts the work in, but as their coach, if you can help them get there, and you do help them get there, it's super rewarding. One of the most rewarding industries, I must say.
Thankfully, though, in that analogy of them all being like kids, you don't have to buy them all trainers and kit, because that would be an absolute nightmare, the amount of them there are now.
Exactly. No, for sure. It's a similar type of love, but a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think they definitely can be needy, but kids can be a little bit more needy. So,
so that elusive 2:20, mate, that is kind of eluded you to this point. Closest you got 2:20:08, crossing the line at Berlin. How did that feel? What was that feeling like? Because obviously that is an unbelievable time, but for you would have been disappointed, I guess.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. So in the back of my mind, I knew it's an unbelievable time. Even for me, having come from a 3:17 marathon background to a 2:20, knocking off almost an hour, is like incredible for me. Like, it's literally almost seems surreal in many ways. But at the same time, I'd visioned, obviously I'd had a few attempts before, and I'd visioned that moment, and I really truly believed, especially in the second half, I was feeling good, and I was putting in a huge shift, negative splits, and I truly believed that I was under 2:20. So to realize that I'd come up just short in the last sort of 50 meters, that was only when I realized it. Was a bit of a shock to the system. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie by saying I was extremely disappointed, because you know what, I'd visioned that moment breaking 220, and I truly believed I could throughout the whole 8-week block. And it's what gets you out of bed in the mornings. You do those sessions, you work so hard for those few seconds. And yeah, there were a few things like on the way to Germany. Actually, I ordered a coffee. I just remembered right now. I ordered a coffee at Costa Coffee, and they didn't have decaf. So the guy said, but instead of decaf, I'll give you a normal coffee, and I'll give you 2 pastries of choice. So I chose like a big almond croissant and a massive like cheese stick pastry. And this was after I'd had dinner, and I was just like, it's free, let me have it. And I had it, and I even wondered, I was like, if I miss it by a few seconds, I wonder if it's going to come down to this.
Oh,
no. You can't be blaming stuff like that. But yeah, that was pretty funny that it actually did come down to a few seconds. So, you know what? I pulled off to the side, and I always take a bit of time. And yeah, I suppose vented in a way. A few mates had finished just behind me. They came up to me, asked if I was okay. And my honest answer was that I wasn't okay. And yeah, they kind of reminded me that it's still an amazing achievement. It was still a PB. And probably after about 15 minutes did I realize that I'm okay, I'm breathing, I'm healthy, it's fine, it's a PB. And then I've been pretty much celebrating the PB ever since then. I think some days I wake up, it still haunts me, but at the same time, it keeps me motivated, keeps me on my toes, and I can't wait to have another crack at Seville in February.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know in your heart of hearts that it's there. You know that you're going to get it. It's just when you'll get it, which I'm imagining is going to be in Seville in February. But it's just that at that moment, there's no one telling you that it's going to be okay, is it? You need to go through that period of 15, 20 minutes or however long it takes you just to be like, oh, for goodness sake, like this is my dream for the last however many weeks, the block, and unfortunately it was missed. But then for you, you were going on to run another few marathons over the next few weeks, because going to pace in London, and then out to South Africa as well, in Chicago. How did you kind of brush it off and think, right, got these to do now as well?
Yeah, so obviously Berlin was my main goal, and I didn't really think about the others, because if I knew in the back of my mind, if I knew I was doing them, that I would maybe subconsciously hold it a little bit back. So in my mind at Berlin, I was like, this is the only one, this is the one that truly counts. If I give it my all and can't run after this for 6 weeks, it's fine. The rest was a bit of fun. But honestly, it was the most amazing thing. You know what? It was an opportunity for me to really enjoy these races. Often, I go out hard and you enjoy the results, but you hurt for a lot of the race. As you know, when you're pushing, pushing hurts. It's always worth it, but it was nice to just run sort of comfortably below threshold for a lot of them. Soak in the crowds. I always said I would help other people in races where I'm not actually racing. So it was so nice to be able to like consistently pace groups of runners that wouldn't normally consistently pace at that sort of pace. So that was amazing. I had the time of my life at London, literally just soaked up the crowds, and obviously Anya absolutely killed it. Chicago was very cool. It was a bit of a weird feeling because I went off at 2:20 pace for the first 10Ks, just because I thought I stood an outside chance, but reality sort of smacked me in the face. And that was fine. I pulled off to the side of the road and waited for a mate who was coming through. So that was a very strange experience, because I was pulled off for about 11 minutes just supporting people. Okay. And I suppose it's not normally in my DNA and nature. I'm normally like go hard, so that was pretty strange, but it was cool in a way. And then paced the 240 pack there, and then Cape Town Marathon. Also try to help out a few people where I could, but the struggle got real towards the second half of Cape Town. I realized this is probably tougher than I thought. Look, I don't know what I was thinking, but it was tough. But then at the same time, the harder you work for things, the sweeter it feels. So to cross that finish line at Cape Town was just almost an emotional one for me, and it was kind of hit me by surprise, and it was good to get over that line, that's for sure. So 4 and 4 was awesome.
I watched all the videos on your YouTube, which I'll link in the description of this as well, and the one that you can see that you're the most emotional at is Cape Town. You can just see that obviously it's going home as well and enjoying that, but crossing that line, that seemed like, to me as a viewer, that seemed like the most special one.
Yeah, for sure. It kind of like took me by surprise in a way, because I think, you know what, with like 15Ks to go, I was just like, just get to this line. Come on, come on, come on. So I was just grinding through every K, whereas the other marathons weren't like that at all, really. And so to finally get over it, I was like, oh, this is the end. Party season can start now. Yeah, first time my mom's watched me race, which was pretty cool. So yeah, that was definitely, look, marathon running's emotional as it is, but that was quite a proud moment, and really happy to have crossed the line there. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier on in this conversation about going from a 317 to where you are now, which will be a sub 220 in February. If you could go back and speak to Nick now with everything you know, all of the knowledge you have as a coach, Nick, who's run that 317, what would be your advice to him?
So you know what? I probably wouldn't have changed too much in my journey. I think the way that things have worked out is that I've been able to progress year on year. And, hopefully that continues next year. No, let's be positive, definitely would continue next year. And I think had I tried to, attack things too hard in my early days, who knows, I might have peaked a bit earlier. I might have got injured, who knows. But I'm really, really like proud of the way things have played out. I think one bit of a tip and advice that I would have given myself when I first started running was to do all the little bits and pieces around just running. My first 3 years I was just running, that was it. I never ever did like runner's mobility, strength, stretching, foam rolling, sports massage, massage guns, focusing on nutrition, recovery, nothing. I was just running, and what the people around me did. So all those little extra bits, all of that stuff adds up. And when the margins get fine, ultimately, you train to a productive level, but it's those little bits and pieces all around the running that actually make the big difference, that get you those PBs. So, yeah.
Do you ever think about what you're going to do after you run 220? Because this is obviously a big goal. Like, this is something that you've wanted to do for a while now. What's kind of going to be your mentality once you do it in February?
Yeah, so I'm going to take up golf very seriously. Like
Gareth Bale.
Go back to my golfing days, because golf's a hard sport. You need to put in a lot of time to improve. So no, but on all seriousness, you know what? I actually haven't thought too far above 220. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I want to really tick that box off first. And then the margins start getting super fine, because you can't go from like journey to sub 220, break it, and then try and break 219, because like, what's the point? I'd like to knock off a full hour of my marathon time. So from 317 to 217. But then at 217, you start getting very close to like sort of like Commonwealth Games qualifications, and things start getting a little bit more serious. So I don't know. I don't want to look too far ahead. I would love to really get to a stage where I can say, okay, I've peaked. This is it. But I feel like I'm far from there. And with hard work and grounding, who knows where I'll get to. I never ever thought I'd get to 220. But like I said, I feel like there's a whole lot more. So who knows?
And people will be watching this saying, oh, I could never get to 220, or I could never get to another time, 230, 245, sub 3, sub 330, sub whatever. What would be sort of your advice to them, saying, well, there's no way I could ever get something like that?
Exactly, yeah. So going back to your question, what would you have told myself like 10 years ago when I started running? If I said I'd do a 220 marathon, I probably would have laughed at you. Like, there's no ways. That's 317. I was completely cooked and broken, and I was like, I don't know if I can ever go faster than this. But ultimately, instead of putting like numbers on it from the start, I think the best thing is to work hard. Keep your love and enjoyment there, but work hard consistently over a period of time, and that's what brings results. So you're not just going to, smash the lights out, especially in the marathon distance, with like a month of training. But once you've train year on year, and your body gets more used to the load, the volume, you worked out a structure that works best for you. When you add all those little wins up along the way, that's when you start seeing big results. And then from there, you can be like, okay, cool, set another mini target. And when you look back, who knows, you could have knocked off, an hour off your marathon time. But I think it all comes down to just setting mini targets, going for those mini targets, working hard for them, rather than just saying, you know, I'm a 4.5 hour marathoner and I want to run a 2:30 one day, because who knows, you could be capable of it or you could not be capable of it, but training, the proof will be in the pudding. So train hard, the results will come, keep training and see where you get to.
What's your favorite thing about running? That's a big question, but like one thing that you'd say that is what I can pinpoint, and that is why I absolutely love it.
Okay, I've got 3 things. Is that okay?
Okay, well, yeah, you can have them. You
Yeah,
can have
the
three.
first one's the endorphin release that you get from the sport. You know, if you're having just a rubbish day and you go for a run, you always feel better. The second thing is the people you meet. Met some very, very cool people that I would not have met if it wasn't for running. And the third thing is the traveling side of things, because, and a good example is doing the 4 and 4 weeks. I was obviously in Germany, then back to London, then to Chicago, and then to Cape Town. So it's just an awesome way to travel. The best way to experience a city is to run through it. You experience it quite well. And yeah, I probably wouldn't have gone to half the countries I did if I didn't run. So just a really cool way to travel and make a holiday out of it.
How was the body after 4 and 4?
The body actually wasn't too bad. A lot of people thought that there was a big chance of me getting injured. You know, obviously it's not very sustainable for a lot of runners, let's say, or the smartest thing to do. But it was all in the preparation. The preparation was key. And those that follow me on Strava sort of knew I was doing big 100-mile weeks to prep for it. A lot of my longer runs I was doing was actually more intense than the marathon race day itself. So the preparation was key for it. The body felt pretty run down at the end, let me not lie. I think a lot of it was due to the traveling, the jet lag, lack of routine, lack of normal nutrition. That stuff played a big role. I think the running obviously did play a role as well, but the other stuff more of a role. And then I think, you know what, followed by 2 to 3 weeks of full blowout party season meant that I came back and I've had to grind very hard, like very hard. And it's been a struggle and tough. But today was the first day that I actually felt like I'm finding a bit of form. So it's been 3.5 weeks of hard work to feel half decent for the first time today. So that just shows you it actually took a lot more out of me than I thought.
And where do we go from here then, leading up to a marathon early 2023? Where does your training start to ramp up to those big mile weeks again, or where are you at the moment, and where are you kind of going over the next 12 weeks?
Cool. So yeah, I think we actually within 12 weeks now. I always do an 8-week strict marathon block. So 8 weeks out, I find more than enough time, especially if you've got a good base. So subconsciously, I'm training for Seville, but I actually haven't consciously locked it in. So I've set a mini target en route, which is a 30-minute 10K target, which I'm actually going to go for at a RunThrough event, RunThrough Battersea. On the 10th of December, myself, Matt Fox is doing it as well. There's a whole lot of best athletics runners, which is just going to be cool. And yeah, I mean, that's pushing my boundaries. I don't know if I'm there quite yet, but you don't know unless you try. So let's risk it for the biscuits. And then after that, it's pretty much 2 weeks and then the 8-week block. So I always encourage runners, especially outside of marathon season, to take recovery after your race, first of all, then come back, look to do shorter distance work. So target maybe like a 5K or a 10K. And then from there, use that speed, pivot off that, and then build in those longer, solid runs, and get the stamina all the way through to race day. So 8 weeks out, I'll lock it in, which is bang on Christmas. And why I'm doing Seville is because I'm expecting another little one at the beginning of April. So Seville's the 19th of February. So got to go for it then, because I don't know if it's going to happen with 2 little ones in the house.
And you've stood on many a start line, but Seville's obviously that thing that you're looking forward to at the moment. And that's the overarching goal, and you're hitting these little goals leading up to it, like you said. What do you think you're going to feel like standing on the start line of Seville? Where's your headspace going to be, do you reckon?
Just hoping it's a good day. You know what? So I've run 2:20 twice this year. I went 2:20.59 at Rotterdam and 2:20.08. So I know I'm there. I'm going to train a little bit harder. Like I said, remember, every year your body gets a little bit used to the running more. You're able to handle a bit more. So I'd really like to get into comfortably under 2:20 shape. Well, I'm never going to be comfortably under 2:20, but when it comes down to a few seconds, it's risky business, because if you fall the right side, the wrong side, I can't go through that emotional pain again. So yeah, I really want to just have a good day. If I have a good day, I'm there. So yeah, that's what I'll be hoping for at the start line. Just to be positive, and I think I'm going to take it out slightly more aggressively than I did at Berlin. Berlin, the strategy was to do a negative split. It's worked well for me in the past, but I felt like if I do that at a big marathon like that, you end up running the second half pretty much solo. And I would love to have people and groups around me. Seville's got big groups of sub 220 runners. So to just get in a nice pack, hang in there, and hopefully, you know, get into that zone and let the kilometers tick by.
A big thank you to Nick for joining us here on Run Through TV. I really hope you enjoyed that conversation. Do remember to give this video a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to Run Through TV as well, and go and stick Nick a subscribe on his YouTube channel as well. He's got some amazing event highlights over there. And big thank you to Nick for joining us at an event down in Battersea Park recently. We hope to see you very soon at an event in person, and please do remember to click that subscribe button here on Run Through TV.